welcome to the midweek edition of your breakfast on Leadership Television inside Nigeria. My name is Winifred Webber, your host on the program. I apologize for bringing the program a bit behind schedule. We were experiencing some technical glitches. Well, on this newspaper review on today's show, we are looking at Nigeria's most influential newspaper leadership. We have other papers as well. We have the Nigerian Tribune, we have The Punch, we have The Guardian, and Blueprint, all for review on today's show. We'll go straight to leadership and see what leadership has on its cover. The main headline story today on leadership newspaper, Wednesday, 23rd July 2025, says states slashing power tariff must be ready to pay subsidy. Coming from the minister, states slashing power tariff must be ready to pay subsidy. Of course, the developing story. Some states have started slashing their band A tariff from what is obtainable in the federal to 160 naira, especially in Enugu State. And in response to that, the minister says they should be ready to pay subsidy. Cost reflective tariff for band A customers 40, says State Energy Commissioner's chairman. A kicker to that leading story today on leadership, states slashing power tariff must be ready to pay subsidy, coming from the power minister. Underneath that, Natasha blocked from NANS attacks Senate President Akpabio. That story runs on page 7 of leadership. Natasha blocked from NANS attacks Senate President Akpabio is a leading story. Yesterday, it was trending on the social media. Wike backs Okpebolo as governor insists Obi must get clearance. Akume Jega Mahe want private sector involvement in livestock development. Chibok parents mourn Buhari seek release of 87 girls. Osun PDP, Governor Adeleke back Tinubu for second term. SCCI bemoans CBN's rate retention. 9,000 children infected with HIV annually, coming from Salako, the Minister of State for Health. 9,000 Nigerian children infected with HIV annually. That story runs on page 21 of leadership. We move towards the masthead of leadership. Local government autonomy delay undermines democracy, coming from Argon. Of course, that is also a response to the leading story on leadership yesterday over the fact that 1 year after Supreme Court judgment on local government financial autonomy, states were yet to comply. Argon says local government autonomy delay undermines democracy. That story runs on page 7 of leadership. And on the business boss, Dangote to federal government enforce refinery development or revoke idle licenses. Dangote to federal government enforce refinery development or revoke idle licenses. Perhaps we'll take some excerpts from that business story. The president of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, has urged the federal government and petroleum regulatory authorities to take decisive action against refinery license holders who fail to proceed with project development. Speaking at the ongoing Global Commodity Insights Conference on the West African refined fuel market in Abuja on Tuesday, Dangote emphasized the need for Nigeria to move from dependence on imported refined petroleum products to full self-sufficiency and industrial transformation. Dangote also lamented that Africa loses $90 billion annually to imported substandard fuel, with the continent increasingly becoming a destination for cheap, often toxic petroleum products, many of which are blended to substandard levels. These are excerpts from today's business story on the cover of leadership. Dangote to federal government enforce refinery development or revoke idle licenses. The story continues on page 4 of leadership. We move to the masthead of leadership. Above that, Attorney General Fagbemi's office denies government stake in First Holdco PLC. Cause this day arise reports malicious. In an advertorial, of course, a trending story between First Bank, owners of First Holdco, and of course between this day publisher Nduka Obagbena. With that, we move to the page 3 of leadership, where we have our stand. Today's stand is on time to review police recruitment policy. Time to review police recruitment policy. The spate of insecurity in the country has recently dominated the public discourse. It remains curious that the bulk of the narrative has been tailored towards the Nigerian military. Why this is understandable, given the invaluable role of the military in preserving the country's territorial integrity, it must be noted that that institution is not primarily responsible for internal security operations or enforcing law and order. As a newspaper, we recognize that the military involvement in internal security operations is inevitable, given the current situation as a higher level of aggression continually reveals itself. We'll move towards the conclusion where the paper takes a stand. It says the recently unveiled revitalized police agenda and transformation roadmap by the Ministry of Police Affairs in collaboration with the Nigerian Police Force also did not touch on reviewing the recruitment policy of the Nigerian Police Force. The focus areas of the roadmap include enhancing infrastructure development, boosting technical and operational efficiency, improving welfare, establishing a robust policy framework for policing in Nigeria, strengthening community policing, building public trust, and rebranding the force to restore citizens' confidence. While this newspaper acknowledges the efforts by the police authorities in recent times, it barely scratches the surface. The recruitment policy must be given as much attention as possible to ensure that only those fit for purpose are recruited into the police. These are excerpts from today's stand in Leadership newspaper. Time to review police recruitment policy. From there, we move to the back page of the paper where we have Wednesday column with Olufunke Baruwa. Today, she's writing on selective amnesia of public stewardship. The quote says, "We cannot build a nation of false memories. If Nigeria is to truly develop, it must confront its past with unflinching honesty." And do that. From there, we dash to Ghana must go. The news, ADC flees Tinubu over appointments. And Ghana must go reply, they want their own share. Perhaps ADC members are better positioned to answer this. They want their own share. It's on that note we conclude review of front headline stories inside some of the inside pages and the back page today, Wednesday, July 23, 2025. For continuation of these headline stories and inside stories, log on to the website of Leadership, www.leadership.ng. Briefly, we move to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is the Punch newspaper. The Punch says APC may pick Ganduje's successor at make or break neck meeting. APC may pick Ganduje's successor at make or break neck meeting. Amakura, Yiwata, Dalori top race, lobbying tickets, North Central demand slot, constitutional review on neck agenda. These are kickers to the leading story. APC may pick Ganduje's successor at make or break neck meeting. Incidentally, the neck meeting is taking place today, this Thursday. Perhaps before the day runs out, we'll know the outcomes of the neck meeting. Beneath that, we have pictures also for what is been playing out in Gaza. Israeli protests in Tel Aviv over Gaza food shortages. Israeli protests in Tel Aviv over Gaza food shortages. That is a good one. Perhaps the authorities, headed by Benjamin Netanyahu, will listen and do what is right. Article warns as Okpebolo, Wike insists on Obi's visit clearance. Natasha heads to court after Senate blockade. ADC boys over Tinubu's endorsement by Adeleke Oyilola. These are also stories on the cover of The Punch. Beside the masthead, Dangote exports 1.3 billion liters petrol as marketers buy foreign fuel. Above the masthead, Senate okays Tinubu's $21 billion foreign loans. With that, we conclude review of front headline stories on the Punch newspaper this Wednesday. For more, log into the website of the Punch newspaper. We head up to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is Nigerian Tribune. Same leading story as that of Punch. It says confusion persists over APC neck meeting. Governors NWC in dark over caucus. That leading story is on page 3 of the paper for continuation. Osun PDP leaders endorsed Tinubu Adeleke for second term. And in health, owning a smartphone before age 13 linked to poor mental health. Africa losing $90 billion annually to imported substandard fuel, Dangote laments. External reserves hit $40.1 billion in July, CBN Governor. Apex Bank maintains lending rate at 27.5%, says 8 banks have met recapitalization requirements. Federal government issues fresh flood alerts for 28 states. Okpebolo insists Obi must inform him before visiting Edo. That story is on page 8 of Nigerian Tribune. Is on that note we conclude review of front headline stories on Nigerian Tribune this Wednesday. For more, log into the website of Nigerian Tribune. We head up to the next paper on our lineup, and that is The Guardian. The Guardian is also talking about the APC NEC meeting scheduled to take place today, Wednesday. Suspense as Tinubu APC NEC meets over zoning new chairman. The story is on page 6 of the paper. Suspense as Tinubu APC NEC meets over zoning new chairman. Senate approves Tinubu's $21.8 billion loan plan, 758 billion naira pension bond amid soaring debt concerns. That story is on page 3 of The Guardian. That ICC renovation and renaming of public assets, of course, that is the editorial today in The Guardian, and it's on page 12 of the paper. That ICC renovation and renaming of public assets. Reps consider restricting politicians' families to public hospitals, schools. Stakeholders warn of setback for Nigeria, Africa as US exits UNESCO. Tension as security operatives deny Natasha access to National Assembly. And towards the masthead of The Guardian, Nigeria loses $18 billion to multinationals, tax evasion yearly. 210 trillion naira scandal. Senate accuses NNPCL GCEO of defiance, gives 24-hour ultimatum. Benue killings, 3,160 displaced, 48 homes destroyed, says federal government. And that also runs up the review of front headline stories on The Guardian this Wednesday. For more, visit the website of The Guardian. We move over to the next paper we have on our lineup, a paper with a different story as its main cover, and that is Vanguard. Vanguard is talking about Natasha's bid to resume yesterday. It says resumption bid drama Senate as Natasha security agents clash. Resumption bid drama Senate as Natasha security agents clash. Senator walks to Nance premises on foot after stoppage of her convoy. Blocked from accessing main building. I will approach appeal court to seek interpretation of legal impasse. Akpoti Odoagan. Activist Aisha Yesufu battles police over role in stopping senator. We acted on orders from above, security agents. Kickers to the leading story on today's Vanguard newspaper. Resumption bid drama Senate as Natasha security agents clash. Incidentally, that is also the cover story in all the papers we have today. Reconsider planned trip to Nigeria, US citizens. Warns of kidnapping, terrorism, poor healthcare orders. Reconsider planned trip to Nigeria, US citizens. Warns of kidnapping, terrorism, poor healthcare orders. Senate approves 2025/2026 external borrowing plan of $21.5 billion. And in sports, Mission X, Nigeria dethroned South Africa. Congratulations to Nigeria. And that also concludes the review of front headline stories on Vanguard this Wednesday. For more, visit the website of the paper. We move ahead to the last paper we have on our lineup, and that is Blueprint. Blueprint is talking about his award series yesterday, the outcomes of his award yesterday. It says Jegad Blueprint Impact Series Awards. Nigeria needs 250% increase in poultry meat, 577% milk to meet projected 400 million population 2050. Explains how sector can boost nation's exports, ranching the way to go for Nigeria's economy, coming from the federal government. The story continues on the cover of Blueprint newspaper and runs on, continues to page 8 of the paper. Tinubu, an ardent supporter of media, coming from Idris, Blueprint leading force in industry, Idi Maha, is another leading story on Blueprint newspaper. Africa losing $90 billion annually to imported substandard fuel. Dangote, we are working on pricing benchmark reflecting continent's reality. NMDPRA. EU donates 1.5 million euro to victims of Benue crisis, Northwest, Northeast. Protect North from flooding. NOA sensitizes market women, FCT market women on farming. That takes us to the masthead of Blueprint. Beneath that, Natasha supporters in face off with Nance security personnel. CBN retains interest rate at 77.5% to sustain disinflation. And in sports, WAFCON, Super Eagles edge out South Africa, qualify for final. With that, we bring to an end the review of front headline stories on Blueprint newspaper this Wednesday. For more, log into the website of Blueprint newspaper. So that also concludes today's Inside Nigerian Leadership Television. Don't forget to join us same time, same station for another fresh edition of the program tomorrow. My name is Winifred Ugwebo. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.